And welcome into the Paul Farrington Show. Paul joined alongside Robert Ziggy Ziegler and Zach Bloomquist, the best executive producer in the game. Jack is celebrating his mom's birthday today, so happy birthday, Mrs. Weinberger. Also, my mom's birthday was this past weekend on June 15th, so a lot of birthdays for the moms of the Paul Farrington Show. Happy birthday to everybody. This is a fun episode. We've been waiting for this one for quite a while, and maybe it's a little early, but the QB rankings for 2024, the way we're going to do it, we're ranking it all depends really on how you preface, the rankings. It could be for the next 5 years, for next season. The way we're doing it is for next season, who would you want as your quarterback? Let's assume everyone can stay healthy for the season. That's the way we're going to do the top 20 quarterbacks. We're going to tier it. So Ziggy and I have each made 5 tiers of NFL quarterbacks consisting of the top 20, and we'll get into it one tier at a time. And there are some disagreements. Ziggy and I generally think similarly, but there are some disagreements on this episode. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. We're closing in on what, like 11.5K, producer Zach? Is that where we're at right now? 11.5K. Hoping to get to like 13 by the start of the season. And of course, you can always become a member for mailbag questions. We'll read all member questions or comments. And we have a giveaway, actually. So we hit 50 members. I forgot about that. We're at 50 members. Let's go, guys. So on the next episode, not today, but next episode, we'll have all the members' names in a hat or a bowl. Maybe we'll have Jack pick a name out, and whoever Jack reads wins a merch giveaway. You can pick anything you want from the store.
Maybe we should put them all in beer cans since it's
that'd be pretty funny. Yeah, we'll do some sort of game to pick the winner on the next episode. But we appreciate everyone who's become a member to the channel. And if you want to become a member, just go to our homepage. It's right there. It says join. It's for $5 a month, and you could get exclusive perks like joining in on our Pick'em League in the fall in 2024, or you could have these giveaways that we're going to do maybe at each milestone. So please get in and have some fun with us. We appreciate everyone who's been along for the journey. Of course, you can always listen on audio if you can't catch us on YouTube. I think that's all our promos, right? You can check out our website for some shirts as well if you would just like merchandise to begin with, and send in any shirt ideas. We're going to try and get more shirts out over the next couple months as we prepare for the NFL season.
At 100 subscribers, Paul will be doing.
Oh no, I have to wear the Jordan Love jersey too. Oh,
we'll be wearing
on the next
Jordan
episode.
Love. Yes.
Yeah, I have to wear that.
Merch giveaway.
A few people also have been asking about if they can meet us in person at any games this year. We're hoping to get out. We're hoping to get out to the Week 4 Vikings-Packers game. So if anyone who listens to the show wants to hang out, we're going to try and go to a bar out in Wisconsin. A Green Bay bar would be a lot of fun. And I will be in Vikings gear myself. So that could be on the schedule for later on. We appreciate everyone who's reached out with ideas or just saying like, hey, love the show and would love to hang out in person. That's like,
and maybe, just maybe, Jack's going to have to live up to all of the smack talk he's been doing about Wisconsin.
Jack's an idiot. Like Jack has no idea what he's talking about. Like
he might find out.
Jack, I don't know where this confidence is coming from. It has to be a show. Like Jack will come over and hang out, and if let's say we're having a party, Jack will have like a handful of drinks, and there's a picture from the party last week, and he's throwing up by a tree. I don't know how he's going to do this. Like I'm rooting for him, but I don't know where this guy is.
They never said he couldn't boot and rally.
Yeah, I guess he could boot and rally. Like maybe it'll be a sight to see if Jack does take on the Wisconsinites in drinking. But anyway, today's show, the QB rankings. Again, the way we're going to do it, what quarterback would you want for the 2024 season alone, assuming that they stay healthy? So forget about the future. Like Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers next year, not for the next 5 years. And we're going to go down. We have tiers here. Ziggy, why don't you start with your tier 5? And what did you name your tier 5?
I named tier 5 can play ball. These are guys who are quarterbacks. They're not Zach Wilson out there. They are quarterbacks at the NFL level. There's not 32 of those guys. So starting from 20, I've got Anthony Richardson, 19 Deshaun Watson, 18 Baker Mayfield, and 17 Tua. I didn't want to put any rookies in there. I know that you've got Caleb Williams in yours just because they haven't played any snaps in the NFL yet. And I don't think that's what the list is going to look like at the end of the season. But that's my tier 5.
Okay, tier 5 there. So for me in tier 5, so you have 4 quarterbacks. I only have 3. I have at 20 as well, Anthony Richardson. Then at 19, I have Caleb Williams. So I do have a rookie there in 19. And people might freak out about a rookie in the top 20 already. But I mean, come on, guys, what are we gonna do? Like, I'm not putting Geno Smith. I'm not putting Deshaun Watson or Russell Wilson or Derek Carr. Like, if we're talking about just next season, I think that the hype around Caleb Williams and the potential is there. And then at 18, I'm sorry, I have Baker Mayfield. So I actually named this category the young guys in Baker. I couldn't move Richardson or Caleb above Baker Mayfield, Ziggy, because Baker had a great season last year. Like, Baker really came in and rejuvenated his career. I feel like it's a disservice to him to rank him lower than them. But if you were to, like, so it's kind of weird because if I was really taking a quarterback, I'd rather take a chance on Caleb or Richardson with the potential that they have, even though I think that putting Baker as the base level higher at the rankings in the summer is better.
I think it just depends of Baker. I mean, historically, if the trend continues, he's going to have an awful season next year because the man has been incapable of putting 2 good seasons back to back. But if he has another season like he did in Tampa last year, I'd be happy to move him up farther. He's shown a lot of potential. He's put together good stretches of games, right? It's not just one here or there. I think there's something there, but I don't know. I noticed you left Deshaun Watson out, and I can see why you would, because Watson has looked horrible a whole lot the past 2 seasons. But I'm still just holding on to the fact that he looked good for his last couple of games. There was an incredible start to his career.
Did he?
And I don't know, maybe the Browns are finally going to get things fixed around him.
You see, that's where Deshaun Watson was someone I've been giving him a lot of leeway in his time in Cleveland. Time after time, I say, if that old Deshaun Watson comes out, because we'd all agree if you took old Deshaun Watson, Texans Deshaun Watson, where is he on this list? Probably 6 or 7 if you were ranking guys. If you had that old Deshaun, but that's not what we've seen, and it's been so long since we've seen it, and just. I understand the last half of football he played. I know you said the last couple of games. Really, the last half to me against the Ravens was the best we've seen him in Cleveland. So, yeah, we are coming off a high note, I guess you could say, before that shoulder injury. I just had enough. Like he would be in that 20 to 25 range for him, or 21 to 25 range. But in terms of top 20 guys, yeah, I couldn't put him any higher on this list, especially coming off injury now. One more guy here before we move on to tier 4. I see that you have Tua at 17. So I also actually have Tua at 17. I just had him in tier 4. Why would you not put him up one tier? Like, why do you see him in the same ranks as the Bakers and the Deshaun's? Because I feel like that's a little bit of a knock on Tua right there from you. Like, he led the league in passing yards. I mean, threw for 29 touchdowns.
Yeah, but I mean, you saw this over and over again with the Dolphins last season, right? Tua he racks up huge stats against mediocre or bad opponents. But when it comes time for real competition, Tua and the Dolphins just struggled so many times last year. Indeed, I think you can make an argument that unlike Baker Mayfield, who at least in some big games showed up and drove some offense, we didn't see that kind of performance from Tua in big games. So I try not to put too much emphasis on, well, it was a big game. We have to overemphasize those because a big game's a game like any other. But we've just seen it over and over again that when Tua plays, the Dolphins are really excellent at beating the teams they should beat. But there's very little ceiling there, no matter who you put around him, no matter how good the offense is. So it's tough for me to move them into my higher tiers where it starts being guys who can really produce stuff on their own and can be a difference maker, at least in some games. We've seen Tua, and again, at 17, that is an average quarterback, right? He is a guy who can produce and play quarterback at an NFL level, but I just don't see him ever becoming a guy who can win your team games.
And no Caleb Williams in there for you? He didn't make the cut?
No, I feel uncomfortable ranking rookie quarterbacks at this point in the season against guys who have played. I think Caleb Williams, he's volatile. I think he's going to really struggle year one. I don't think he's going to be a top 20 quarterback next year anyway. There's a lot of potential there, but I expect a tough start in Chicago.
All right, let's move on to tier 4 now. So your tier 1, again, was 20 Anthony Richardson, 19 Deshaun Watson, 18 Baker, and 17 Tua. How many guys do you have in your tier 4?
I've got 4 guys in this tier, and I call it better than the alternative. These are guys where you're happy they're your quarterback. You want a little bit more, but you look around at the other half of the league and say, at least we don't have that guy. At least our guy's going to win us some games. So at 16, I've got Kirk Cousins. At 15, I know this is going to make a lot of people mad, Aaron Rodgers. 14, Kyler Murray. 13, Jalen Hurts.
Okay, maybe a little low for my guy Kirk there, but in my tier 4, I named this the average guys who can get red hot. So average to slightly above average who can get red hot. 17, I have Tua. Yeah, when Tua's on, dude's on fire. Like we see what the Dolphins offense can do. You're right though. Oftentimes it is against lesser competition. 16, I have Brock Purdy, who let me see. Oh, wow, he's much higher on your list. Wow, more to come on Brock Purdy for Ziggy. I have 16 Brock Purdy. I like Brock a lot. I have nothing against him. I'm not gonna harp on him like some people do for saying that the 49ers offense is completely loaded around him. That's why I think Brock Purdy's really, really good. Just these other guys, I think, are a little more talented. 15, Kyler Murray. Kyler, to me, you had him at 14 here. I don't think people are respecting him enough heading into this season. When he came back, Cardinals team was absolutely horrible, and he made them somewhat relevant. I mean, I remember they went into Philly, played really good there, even though Philly was falling apart. I thought Kyler Murray completely changed the vibe of the Cardinals season once he returned. 14, Jared Goff. I mean, at this point, Jared Goff is playing like a guy, like when he's on, he can get into that top 7 range. And he's been on for about a year and a half now. So he's second in the NFL, 450 or 4,600 yards last year. And then 13, I have Kirk. And I know some people are going to say I'm being biased. Probably am to a degree, but I thought Kirk Cousins was playing arguably top 5 quarterback football at the end of last season or in the middle of last season when he got hurt. He was just awesome against the 49ers and the Packers, 2 playoff teams, 2 divisional round teams. And the Vikings won those games. They were coming on before that injury, that Achilles injury. So that's what I got. The average guys who can get red hot: 17 Tua, 16 Brock, 15 Kyler, 14 Jared Goff, and 13 Kirk Cousins. Do you have a problem with any of those dudes?
We will get into this more, I think, as we go to the next level. But my biggest issue is I think you have both Goff and Purdy far too low. And the reason for that is this. This is something you hear quite a bit, that these guys are decent quarterbacks, but they're in a system that makes things easier for them, and all they sort of do is produce. But you can put a lot of guys into that situation and they would produce. I have a hard time trusting my ability to assess talent outside of production. And when people talk about how loaded the 49ers offense is, for instance, they don't seem to pay attention to the fact that Brock Purdy is producing way better than Jimmy G, and leagues better than anybody else they've thrown in that system. We haven't seen other guys step in for the Lions a whole lot, but Jared Goff is producing at one of the highest levels in the NFL. And it's very difficult for me to see guys consistently produce. Goff, besides his last year in Los Angeles, since he's gone to Detroit, he's produced at an elite level. Brock Purdy, since he started, has produced at an elite level. Look at that and say, okay, average quarterback. There's a bunch of guys ahead of him.
It's also a stupid argument. It's straight up. It's really ignorant to just say that the 49ers are loaded and that's why Brock Purdy's good. You go down this list of all the good quarterbacks. I mean, Joe Burrow's thrown to T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, and Joe Mixon has had some really good years. I mean, the Packers fans want to talk about how great their four receivers are. Like most good quarterbacks have really good supporting rosters. I understand that McCaffrey's probably the best in his position, but Debo and Ayuk are both great playmakers. Debo more specifically, but like why are we not making that argument for other guys? It makes no sense to me when Purdy, highest QBR in football, all the ratings metrics, Purdy's number one in. And he's coming off Tommy John surgery, and he threw for 31 touchdowns. He was 5th in passing yards. Like Brock Purdy needs respect. I know I'm saying that as someone who has him as 16th in the league, but I think a lot of people would have him lower. So I understand where you're coming from. I'm excited to see the reveal for Purdy. I'm not sure where he is on your list, but I know he's going to be a lot higher. So why don't we move on now to, let me see here. You had Kirk.
I'm surprised you're not challenging me on Aaron Rodgers.
Well, that's the one I'm looking at with Aaron. Actually, Jalen Hurts in the better than alternative is also interesting because I have him in tier 3 with those other guys. Are you just down on him after the 2023 season, or do you think that's kind of what he is?
Jalen Hurts absolutely could move up. I think he's borderline here. I had a hard time deciding which tier to put him in. And honestly, if my tier 3 weren't already so bloated, I probably would have put him there. The thing with Hurts is just if you look at his career, what we've seen is one really good season. 2023 was above average. 2021 was slightly above average, but it's all hinging on that 2022 season. But when you're looking at a guy who's had one really good season and two decent above average, but not by a whole lot seasons where he hasn't carried the team, I haven't seen enough for me to be really confident that he's more than a guy who got red hot in 2022. Now he can, and that's why he's not lower, despite the fact that he's coming off a pretty tough year. And lots of things went wrong around him this year. I get that. He's got a unique skill basically no one else in the NFL has on those QB sneaks. But I want to see more from him before I'm convinced he's a guy who will consistently get hot during the season.
Again, so far, I'm not really. I have no problems with your numbers. So at this point, it's more just some of the tiering of it, where some guys are like if you were to tier Hurts and Tua, that's where I disagree with you a little bit more. But I think the numbers are pretty good. Yeah, Rodgers we'll get into a little bit more. We'll talk about Rodgers when I get to him. So how about your tier 3? Me and you both have pretty big tier 3s here.
Yeah, this tier 3, I call it will win you games. This tier gets big because it's guys who you can.
What kind of name is that?
Well, I'll tell you what it is, right? The standard I have for an NFL quarterback is, here's what makes an NFL quarterback good. Are they the sort of person who will just win you games on their own? And how consistently can they do that? At my tier 5, the guys probably aren't going to do that. Tier 4, there's a chance they'll get hot during the season, but often they won't. Tier 3 is guys who you can count on during the season for a stretch, maybe even a long stretch. They will get hot and win you some games on their own. Again, not a lot of guys in the NFL can do that. This is the start of guys who can do that, and will do that, I think, on an annual basis. So it's big. We'll go through it. We'll talk a lot here. 12, Matthew Stafford. 11, Jordan Love. 10, CJ Stroud. 9, Jared Goff. 8, Trevor Lawrence. 7, Brock Purdy. 6, Joe Burrow. And 5, Lamar Jackson.
Okay, so this gets into your top 5 here.
Yeah, this is a huge tier for me. There's 7 guys here. I think this is when you're breaking down quarterbacks who are decent. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of guys in.
Okay, I'm looking at this here. All right, we'll have some things to discuss. The way I viewed this tier, I said this is players 12 through 6, and I named it top 5 potential. So what I have is 12 through 6. 12, I have Jalen Hurts. 11, Aaron Rodgers. That was a tough one for me, whether or not I put Rodgers in the top 10. 10 was Trevor Lawrence. We talked a lot about him a couple shows ago. It's funny. I thought Lawrence was an easy lock for top 10, but then when I got into it, he really did just sneak in there at the last moment. 9, I have Jordan Love. Feels like it could be a little high, but again, that 10-game sample size was really good. 8, I have Stroud. 7, I have Dak Prescott. And Dak is someone that we could talk a lot about because most people will underrate him significantly. But the more you dive into Dak Prescott, dude has been just phenomenal for multiple seasons now. 8, and then 6, I have Matthew Stafford. I've said time and again, I think he is the best quarterback in the NFC right now. Even though he's a little bit older, what he did last season for a Rams team that we were all making fun of. We talked about the top 5 teams who could be drafting number 1 heading into last season. I know you didn't. You didn't. I'm sorry.
Hold on. We were all making fun of. I had them as a lock to
but most people did. And then they came out and they were competitive with San Francisco in week 1. And then throughout the season, I mean, the Rams were in Detroit. If they win that game, they play Tampa Bay in round 2. They're probably going to the NFC Championship game. And they might even beat San Francisco with the way Brock Purdy was playing at the time. You know, you put them in those conditions where it was raining and the ball was slipping out of Purdy's hands. It very easily could have been a Super Bowl run for the Rams. Matthew Stafford was playing at that level. If they don't have a couple penalties in Detroit there, I thought he was just sensational last year. So I had him at 6. I feel like he was a little low there for you at 12. But
yeah, I mean, the thing with Stafford for me is even in his time in LA, he has not changed my perception that he's an incredibly streaky quarterback. Now, when Stafford is on, he is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And basically every week you've seen of the Rams, he makes some highlight throws. The dude is a monster. But he can have long stretches of mediocre quarterback play. And some of that's injuries. There's no doubt about it. Right? But if you look at the 2022 and 2023 seasons combined, he put together some good games there, but there was nothing like the stretch of games you saw in 2021. And Stafford's getting older every year, right? He's had health problems. And I don't mean that he might get injured, though he might, but just as he gets older, it's harder for him to play the game. He's thinking about retirement every offseason. Stafford's really good when he's on, but because he's vulnerable to long stretches of mediocre play, and if you watched him in Detroit, it was the same story. You get a lot of good games, then a lot of mediocre games. It's tough for me to move him up with guys like Joe Burrow, like Lamar Jackson, like Brock Purdy, who have consistently, whenever they play, been good.
Like Joe Burrow, like Lamar Jackson, like Brock Purdy. I like Purdy. I like Brock Purdy. But
every time Brock Purdy has played, he's been elite. I don't know what more you want from me. All the evidence says the guy's an elite quarterback. Okay, and people can stop and say, yeah, but no.
Let's keep moving up your ranking. We'll get to Purdy in a second here. So at 11, you had Jordan Love, and that's someone that a lot of people listening to this show are going to be a little upset about, that he's not in your top 10. So why did you have him behind guys like Goff and Purdy and even CJ Stroud? A lot of people are comparing Jordan Love and CJ Stroud since they both broke out in the same year. What made you rank him behind those guys who cracked your top 10?
It's just an issue of how much evidence we have of their performance, right? CJ Stroud and Jordan Love are interchangeable, basically. Both of them played about as well last season. I liked Stroud slightly more because there were slightly more good games. You can flip it. I'd have no problem with that. The thing is from both of them, we've seen a little more than half a season of really good play. Jared Goff, you've seen 5 or 6 seasons. Trevor Lawrence, you've seen 2. Purdy, you've seen 2. Burrow, Lamar Jackson, like all those guys have just been around longer. So when I'm weighing how likely is it that this guy will continue to perform at that level, you have to look at how long have they done it. Because not anyone, a few guys can get streaky. It happens sometimes. It's less and less likely it's a streak the more games in a row they do it. Mm-hmm. So I fully expect at least one and probably both of Love and Stroud will be higher. But people, I think, are too quick to anoint these guys as the next elite quarterbacks in the NFL. There's still a decent chance that one of them or even both of them don't get much higher than they're at now.
Well, I mean, that's where we are, too. Every time, I just got off producing NBA shows, and every single time someone got hot during the playoffs, if it's Anthony Edwards or Luka or Shea, every single outlet is coming out saying Anthony Edwards is the best player in the world. Anthony Edwards has taken Luka Doncic's best player in the world. Most people, who are watching basketball are saying, okay, Nikola Jokic is the best player. He just lost. He just had they had a bad series. They lost. You're seeing that a lot in football too right now, where Jordan Love got red hot, and a lot of people are going to have him higher than I have him at 9. Some people have him 6, 7 on these lists. I mean, I saw someone who said he would take him number 2. Mike Tannenbaum, right? Said he would take him number 2 in a draft of all quarterbacks for the next 5 years. I think I put him at 9. I actually had him ahead of Trevor Lawrence. I had him ahead of Aaron Rodgers. The final 10 games is really what everyone's looking at. That's the discussion around Jordan Love. 7-3 record, about 70% completion percentage, 23 touchdowns to 3 interceptions, 112.1 passer rating. That is what you're judging Jordan Love on right now. People.
And that's what he's about to get paid on.
Yeah, that's what he's about to get paid on. The people who have him outside that top 10, 12, they're talking about those first 9 games where he struggled a bit. He was inaccurate. The ball placement wasn't quite there. If you're buying Jordan Love, you're buying those 10 games. And for me, the reason I'm buying them, and again, I'm a Viking fan. I'm not happy about this at all. I just played golf with a Packer fan who were talking about Love's emergence. The way he looked showed it didn't look like a spoof. Watching those games, the athleticism, the ball placement, this wasn't like getting lucky. This was, this guy's threading the needle. Like, it looked like it clicked. So that's why I have him at 9 there. I mean, 32 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. He was lighting the league on fire. And then CJ Stroud, 23 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. It's protected the ball like crazy in an offense that we all thought. I said in the last episode, we were making fun of Houston because no one could name players on their team. Like even Houston beat reporters, it seemed like, couldn't name people on their team. And for him to take that team to the playoffs after they were 3-13-1, I was really impressed. So I have him a little bit ahead of Love as well because he did it for the whole season. And I just thought that Houston team was carried more than Green Bay. So I like that there. Let's see. All right. So I had Rodgers at 11 and you had him down at 15. I still think that there's that MVP Aaron Rodgers in him. Are you expecting him to come out and just be an old man and the Jets to get crushed next season?
The last time we saw MVP Aaron Rodgers, he was 36, 37? He's 40 now.
I mean, it's 2 years. It was 2 years ago.
2022 Aaron Rodgers, I'm sorry, it was a decent season, but like 3,600 yards, 26 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. The most interceptions Aaron Rodgers had thrown since his rookie year.
Yes, sir. What did he have? A hand injury? Did he have the hand injury that season?
Yeah, he was hurt, no question about it. But we have not seen Aaron Rodgers play at an MVP level since 2021. And as you get older, it just becomes less and less likely, in my view, and in general, that you're going to be able to reclaim that magic. Now, as you say, if anyone can do it, it's Aaron Rodgers, who's in 2020, when everyone, including the Packers organization, had close to written this guy off, had a career revival, the likes of which we've never seen, and then did it again in 2021 when everyone said it was a fluke. If anyone can do it, it's this guy. There's no question about it. And I'll be honest, right? When it was Tom Brady's time, every year I said, this is the year Tom Brady's not going to have it. And then he won a Super Bowl. So I'm not guaranteeing I'm right, but in general, I back out on players once I see them start getting old and see a stretch of medium play. I'm not convinced that Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to do it coming off the injuries he's had.
Yeah, and of course the news now with Rodgers is skipping some of the OTAs, which
whatever.
Yeah, we don't really care about that. A lot of people are saying, "Hey, bad sign ahead of the season for him to already look like he's not 100% invested." I don't really care about it. Show up to training camp, get the job done. I expect Rodgers to do that. I've said this before. I always kind of lean into these legends a little bit more, maybe than I should. Like, I think that they can get the job done. And a motivated Aaron Rodgers. The last time we really saw a motivated Aaron Rodgers, I thought, was before the 2020 season when he did win MVP. So health is obviously a huge factor. We're assuming they're healthy on these rankings. Rodgers could easily come out. Yeah, he's 40 years old. He could come out and get hurt again very quickly. He lasted 4 plays last season. So I had no problem with you ranking him at 15. That wasn't the guy I was going to get on you for. I just believe in him a little bit more, it seems, than you do. Okay, we're almost through this tier 3 here. So I do want to ask you now, you had 9 Jared Goff and 7 Brock Purdy. So you're telling me that if we're going into the 2024 season, I say, Ziggy, you take a guy to get you to the promised land. You're taking both of them over Stafford, Love, and Stroud. Like 3 guys.
Yeah.
I think those 3 guys are all much more capable of taking over games. Like the potential of Stroud and Love to me is top 5 right there. Goff and Purdy, I think, are very, very good, but they are more game managers while the other guys can take over. And like, why? I don't understand that ranking.
I mean, when you talk about taking over, to me, it seems like taking over is throwing for a lot of yards, scoring a lot of touchdowns, and not turning the ball over. And when you look at what did Jared Goff and Brock Purdy do at an elite level, right? One of the best in the league. They throw for a lot of yards, they score a lot of touchdowns, and they don't turn the ball over. Right? It's like there's an emphasis, and I understand why. When someone like Lamar Jackson takes off, it's flashy, it's exciting, and that's a real skill set. He can take over games doing that. But if you're able to get 8 or 9 yards a pass, every pass for a drive, guess what you're going to do? You're going to score a touchdown. It doesn't matter how you get there. So I value elite production. And indeed, right, you can say, well, they don't show some of the same things. They don't have all the physical tools. There's questions about them. Yeah, sure, whatever. But when you consistently produce at an elite level, Jared Goff has only really had 1 year in his career where he didn't produce at an elite level. Maybe 2. The first year.
I like Jared Goff. I think Jared Goff's awesome. I would definitely sign up for him this season with the Vikings. I find 9 a little bit high ahead of Stroud and Love and Stafford, especially with this list being who you would want for the 2024 season if they stay healthy. Yeah. I guess
Stafford is old, and Love and Stroud haven't done it nearly as long.
And look, to be fair to you, Goff has been for a year and a half really, really good. Elite. Jared Goff has been elite for a year and a half. So I get where
I'll tell you what's going to happen. We're going to have Lions fans coming in here complaining I put him at 9.
I think Lions fans will be very accepting of the number 9 ranking.
Absolutely not. They'll be annoyed he's not top 5.
Okay, so now we kind of move in to the. This is, in my opinion, the elite of the elite right here. Although you have your crazy names for these tiers, and I don't know if you see, Ziggy. It's so hot in New Jersey. By the way, I've been chugging water throughout this entire podcast right now. It's like 95 degrees today.
Yeah, just to let you know, Paul has set foot outside today, and his house is air conditioned. I don't want to hear this.
What are you talking about? I played 18 today. It's a day off work.
Oh, that's right, you did.
I was outside all day. I was scorched.
Poor you golfing.
No. I'm not. This isn't supposed to be a sob story. I'm just saying, like, it's hot. Like that's why you see me chugging water on the podcast.
You know what I did today? I put down 4 football fields today.
What time did you get up for work today?
Today was a normal time. I got up at 4:30.
Oof. The Paul Farrington show really is a 24-hour. Like you could access us 24 hours. And me going to bed at 3:30 in the morning, Zach getting up at 3:30. I don't envy you today at all. It was hot. It was hot on the course. All right, so 6 you have Joe Burrow, 5 Lamar Jackson. You cracked into your top 5 here. I think that's absurd at them at 6 and 5. I had 6 Stafford, and then I had 7 Dak Prescott. So okay, Burrow and Lamar. Why don't we go into your second category here, your tier 2, and I'll read my tier 2, and then we could get into more discussion.
Yeah. So this category I call borderline elite. These are guys who can put together long stretches. What do you want from me?
How are you saying the number 4 and 3 quarterbacks in football are borderline elite?
Here's what an elite quarterback means. It means that in basically every game, pretty much no matter what, week in, week out, you have the best quarterback. And the fact is, look, to do that, you have to.
That is what the number 3 and 4 quarterbacks are.
But that's not true, right? Because at 4, I've got Dak Prescott, and 3, I've got Justin Herbert. Those guys have had stretches in recent years where they've gone down a little bit. They don't always play their best every single week. Sometimes they cost their teams a chance to win the game. They do not have the same level. Their peaks are as high just about as the guys above them. But they do not have the same level of consistency where pretty much every week, it's not surprise who's at 2 and 1 for me, right? It's Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Pretty much every week, your game plan can be, if you're those teams, let's just have our quarterback do his thing and you will be favored. It's not quite the same for Justin Herbert or Dak Prescott, even though they do that a whole lot during the season. Dak does not get enough respect. I will just put this out there before we talk about it more. Dak Prescott, absolutely. People talk about him like he's a bum. People are saying that the Cowboys shouldn't be re-signing him. They're better off without him. The guy consistently puts up. I mean, what? I know he's had a couple off seasons. I know he's gotten injured in 2022 and 2020. But otherwise, Dak Prescott's good for 30-plus touchdowns, usually 35 or more. He's good for single-digit interceptions. He's good for 4,500 or more yards, and he's good for 12 or 13 wins. The guy will consistently win you the division. He will consistently take you to the playoffs. There are very few quarterbacks over the stretch that Dak Prescott has played in the NFL that have done nearly as well as him. And I don't understand why this guy doesn't get any respect. You put him on any other franchise, and everyone's talking about how great he is.
Yeah, he's the Cowboys quarterback, and it's the playoff failures. That's what it is. And when going into this list, you do have to consider to some degree, if you want a quarterback for the 2024 season, you're hoping that includes the playoffs. Dak has had a lot of playoff failures. I'm not going to ride him too hard on that. I mean, there are a lot of guys who struggle in the playoffs. That's just what it is. And
Tua Tagovailoa.
Tua. I mean, last year I also thought that the Cowboys kind of ran into a red hot team in the Packers. So Green Bay probably should have gone to the NFC Championship game if Anders Carlson makes that kick in all likelihood. They don't throw an interception here or there. They're playing Detroit to go to the Super Bowl. I thought they got a little bit unlucky with that draw as the 2 seed. I'm fine with Dak at 4. Actually, no, I'm not. I don't see how you put him above Lamar and Joe Burrow, I don't see how you do put him ahead of Lamar and Joe Burrow, especially when Lamar's coming off an MVP season and Joe Burrow, when he's healthy, and we're assuming they're healthy on this list, he's gone to the Super Bowl and the AFC Championship game. The only guy to beat Mahomes other than Brady.
Yeah, well, so Lamar Jackson didn't deserve MVP last year. If I were an MVP voter, I would have put him 4th or 5th. Certainly,
who are you giving the MVP to?
Probably Josh Allen, maybe Dak.
I mean, I guess by that.
I think Dak had a better season than him last year. And the thing of Joe Burrow is Joe Burrow has put together some excellent seasons and some excellent playoff runs. There's no doubt about it. But while I know we're assuming health, and that's fair enough, Joe Burrow has had some more inconsistency in the guys in front of him. You can talk about injury, and injury certainly plays a role in that. And indeed, there's probably no quarterback who has a bigger difference between how good they are healthy and how good they are injured than Joe Burrow.
Has Burrow really been inconsistent? Has Burrow really been inconsistent when healthy?
But this is the thing, right? Maybe I just don't like the fact that we're assuming that he's a Superman who never suffers a minor injury. But when Joe Burrow tweaks his ankle or has a slight calf strain or is throwing hands off, he suddenly turns into a low-tier quarterback. We're not talking about a torn ACL here. We're not talking about a ruptured Achilles. We're talking relatively small ailments make Joe Burrow there's kryptonite. He's not Superman unless he's perfectly healthy.
Yeah,
and
I guess we are saying.
For me, I get why I took it. Maybe you mean no injury whatsoever, but that's unrealistic.
No, that's not the way I actually took it either.
During the NFL season.
Yeah, I didn't take it quite that literally either. So I guess we are looping in the injury factor to a degree. I'm not going to rank the guy assuming he's got tear his ACL or something.
Yeah, and I'm not either. I'm just saying the first 4 games of last season that you saw of Joe Burrow, he had to play himself into shape because of the injury. And he's missed so many games due to injury. I want to see more from him before I'm confident that he's consistently going to be that guy. And let's be clear, right? It's not like I'm saying Joe Burrow.
What are you talking about? What are you talking? You want to see more before you Super Bowl AFC Championship game? And they probably should have beat the Chiefs that time too.
Yeah.
What do you want to see more?
Joe Burrow is the number 6 quarterback in the NFL. That is high.
What do you want to see from Lamar? Lamar hasn't gone to a Super Bowl. Dak Prescott doesn't win playoff games. Herbert choked a 27-point lead. Josh Allen hasn't gone to the Super Bowl. What do you mean you want to see more from Burrow? I want to see more from those guys.
Seeing more from them doesn't always mean playoff wins, right? This is the way I look at it. A playoff game is an important game. It's worth more than a regular season game, but it's 1 of 17 or 2 of 17.
Okay, how about Herbert gets to the playoffs?
Yeah, Justin Herbert has consistently played at an elite level. And then, he's gotten hurt. That's true. Yeah, the team's been bad around him. That's true. But Justin Herbert has consistently played better than Joe Burrow since they've entered the NFL. This is the fact. Lamar Jackson has played very good, but it is true he's overrated. He won an MVP last year because he played a couple
This is why
really
Ravens
good
fans hate us. This is why Ravens fans hate.
Yeah, I mean, Ravens fans are mad that I'm not saying Lamar Jackson is the number 3 quarterback in the NFL. I said he's number 5 because he's had some tough seasons and was overrated last year. Right? You could go in on this.
Yeah, no.
To be a number 6 or number 5 in the entire NFL is saying you are one of the best at the hardest position in sports. I am not saying any of these guys are bad, right? They're not Tua.
Yes.
They're not some bum that puts up a couple good games and everyone gets excited about it. And then the team has to hand him a $60 million contract.
Zach probably agrees with
it. Real deal.
I haven't handed it yet.
Zach's dreading this update.
Zach is saying his prayers every night that his team doesn't hand their starting quarterback a new contract. That's not these guys.
When you see the Tua gets handed the 4-year, $240 million contract, we'll instant react to that, and we'll just have Zach on screen. He'll just
start crying.
That'll be. Hey, I like Tua, but yeah, I mean, if he gets $60 million a year. So Ziggy, here's my ranking. So you shared yours. At 6, you had Burrow, 5 Lamar. Then you had 4 Dak, 3 Justin Herbert, 2 Josh Allen, 1 Patrick Mahomes. I had in my top 6 Stafford at 6. Then my next tier was tier 2, and this was basically challengers to Mahomes. I have Mahomes in a tier by himself. 5, I have Justin Herbert. 4, Lamar Jackson. 3, Josh Allen. I had Joe Burrow at 2. That's why I was a little upset that you had Burrow all the way down in 6 and in the 3rd tier. And then 1 Mahomes. At this point with Mahomes, it's almost tough to have conversations other than comparing him to Brady, basically. So yes, I'm sorry. What were you going to say?
I was going to say Mahomes. If I had another tier, I do think he's close to a tier above Josh Allen. The only thing that I think is indisputable is nobody in the NFL is remotely close to Patrick Mahomes except Josh Allen, and we've seen it time and time again.
Yeah, Josh Allen.
I think it's silly to put Joe Burrow ahead of Josh Allen. Josh Allen has played so much better for so much longer.
I'm pretty firm on the top 5 in the league being Herbert, Lamar, Allen, Burrow, and Mahomes. And after Mahomes at 1, I really think you could organize those next 4 however you want. I get that you have Dak there, and Dak has been awesome. But to me, those 4 guys are the other ones who, I think that they're just a different animal. And Josh Allen was the one. Josh Allen and Burrow were always going to be my 2-3. I get that Lamar was the MVP. He's awesome. Best passing season of his career. Best rusher in the league by a mile. Justin Fields is sort of close. But it was Burrow or Allen for that 2 spot. And I do think the ceiling of Josh Allen, when Josh Allen is on, he is, like you said, the closest to Mahomes in the league. And honestly, he can even at times surpass, like him and Mahomes, I think, are very close. When they're on, you saw that in the AFC divisional round game a few years ago. But there are times when Josh Allen can get a little erratic and start making some mistakes. I would say, though, I'm not sure there's any player in the league who carries his team as much as Josh Allen carries Buffalo. And last year, when that team was reeling, he pretty much put them on his shoulders and took them to the playoffs. And really, what were they? They were the 2 seed, right? At the end of it, when they beat you guys, Zach? That was for the 2 seed, right?
No, didn't we get the 2 seed?
No, you lost in Miami.
Who did we have in the end?
You were the 6 seed. Kansas
City?
Oh, yeah, because Kansas City was 3. They hosted... Who did they host? They hosted the Chiefs, right? The Bills?
No, the Chiefs hosted us.
No, in first round. And then the second round of the playoffs, it was the Texans and the Ravens and the Bills hosting the Chiefs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely it.
Sure.
So, yeah, for Josh Allen to get them to the 2 seed after the season they had, I thought that was all on him. And James Cook was great, but...
Yeah, and the thing, as you said, you can say this about Josh Allen. You can probably say it about Patrick Mahomes. You can't say it about anyone else. You can't say it about Patrick Mahomes. They are one-man offenses. If you put that guy in the backfield, you can put basically anything you want around them, and you will have an elite offense in the
Lamar
NFL.
can be like that, too. I think Lamar has that in him as well.
Lamar has that in him sometimes. And he certainly made do without wide receivers. I just think between the tight ends and the offensive line and the running backs, like he has had some help. And of course, everyone has help in the NFL, right? I'm not saying that, but consistently year in, year out, Mahomes and Josh Allen just will their teams to having elite offenses. And you can't say that, for instance, about Joe Burrow.
I saw kind of a cool stat with Josh Allen, said the approximate value metric at Pro Football Reference. Now, look, I'm not diving too far into metrics here. I know that's more of your alley, but the approximate value metric has him as the most valuable player in the NFL since the 2021 season. And I think if you watch the Bills play, you would see that. 35 or more touchdowns in 3 of the last 4 years. He ran for 15 last season. The guy's a touchdown machine. Fantasy football rankings, so he's probably going to be the number 1 quarterback on my list. I'm not sure. I haven't dove too far into that. But yeah, I'm a huge Josh Allen fan. Even when people are down on him, I think he's awesome. So yeah, I have him top 3 there. And then Justin Herbert. So you have Herbert at 3. I have him at 5. Like you have him over Burrow, over Jackson, guys that I also consider elite. I'm not sure, your verbiage is or adjectives are a little different. Yeah, Justin Herbert is someone that I feel like should be closer. I mean, is he closer to Stafford or closer to Lamar for me? Probably closer to Lamar. Do you think that Harbaugh is going to bring out the best in him next season?
I think that Harbaugh is going to bring out the best in everyone around him, and folks are going to find out why. Everyone who knows ball has been saying Justin Herbert is that guy since really his rookie season.
It really comes down to Herbert in the national media light, I would say, in the public perception. Winning's the only thing that's keeping him from being talked about in the same breath as Joe Burrow and Josh Allen and Lamar a lot more. He's 30-32 in his career. They had that horrible playoff choke. That's for the world to see when the playoffs come. So if they start winning a little bit, I think people are going to sit back and go, holy crap, like this guy's skill set and his traits, the build of Justin Herbert is as impressive as anyone. Like pound for pound, Justin Herbert is one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league. He might be more talented than everyone outside of maybe Josh Allen and Mahomes. So I'm excited to see what he does with Harbaugh. Still feel like we haven't seen that peak Herbert yet, even though he's had some really, really good seasons. So I'm excited to see that. And then, yeah, I'm Mahomes at 1. I don't know if get into my Google Doc here. Did you put a picture of Tommy DeVito on my Google Doc?
Are you asking me?
I had to have been you, right?
No.
Was that you, Zach?
I don't have access to your Google Doc.
I think we have like a shared Google. We have a shared Google Drive for the show, and that's where I put the rundown in. And I have my top 20 QBs. I had tier 1 or tier 5 up to tier 1, and then someone put in a picture of Tommy DeVito at the top. It says God tier, the Lord himself with Tommy DeVito.
Oh, it's definitely Ziggy.
That has to be.
I promise it was not me. I promise it was not me.
Did I I don't think I drank alcohol last night. I don't know what happened. All right. Well, I guess somehow Tommy DeVito is atop my QB tiers in his own level. So
it was definitely Ziggy. Look at that.
It has to be Ziggy.
It was not me.
Because Zach was working, so he wouldn't have been able to do it. Jack is frankly too lazy, doesn't care enough to do it.
Yeah.
And Ziggy would find it hysterical.
It is hysterical, but it wasn't me.
He's really trying to hold it in.
Okay, so there you go. Why don't we read them one more time, Ziggy? Why don't you read your tiers and your rankings for anyone who skipped ahead in the show and didn't listen to the whole thing? Your top 20 quarterbacks with the tiers for next season.
Tier 5, 20 Anthony Richardson, 19 Deshaun Watson, 18 Baker Mayfield, 17 Tua.
And tier 4 can play ball tier, right?
Do you want me to do the names?
I like the names. I thought the names.
The names. They're the correct names. Yeah, it's the can play ball tier. Tier 4, the better than the alternative tier. 16 Kirk, 15 Aaron Rodgers, 14 Kyler Murray, 13 Jalen Hurts. Tier 3, will win you games tier. 12 Matthew Stafford, 11 Jordan Love, 10 CJ Stroud, 9 Jared Goff, 8 Trevor Lawrence, 7 Brock Purdy, 6 Joe Burrow, 5 Lamar Jackson. Little Stafford Jackson sandwich there. Tier 2, borderline elite. Number 4, Dak Prescott. Number 3, Justin Herbert. Tier 1, elite. Number 2, Josh Allen. Number 1, Patrick Mahomes.
I love the borderline elite tier 2 name. That is so funny.
To be elite is a hard thing to do, Paul.
Yeah, no, you're right. It all comes down to how you define elite. And it's just funny to me that you don't like Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson. They're not sniffing.
They're not even
borderline elite. Okay, for me, tier 5 was the young guys and Baker. I had Anthony Richardson at 20, Caleb Williams 19, and Baker at 18. Tier 4 was the average guys, or roughly average guys who can get red hot. 17 Tua, 16 Brock Purdy, 15 Kyler Murray, 14 Jared Goff, and 13 my guy Kirk Cousins. I have so many Kirk Cousins shirts just lying around. I chose the wrong year to invest in Kirk Cousins merchandise. I'll keep wearing it, but disappointing. Tier 3 for me, guys with top 5 potential. These are guys that I would not be surprised at all if they finish next year in my top 5 for the season, or top 5 in really any category. They're that talented. 12 Jalen Hurts, 11 Aaron Rodgers, 10 Trevor Lawrence. And we didn't really talk about Lawrence, but if you go back, our last episode did a lot on him. We have a breakout video that Ziggy said is an all-time bad performing video for this channel on Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, 3 days late on a Jaguars story isn't really the recipe for success in this industry. 9 Jordan Love.
Give the people what they need.
Yeah, right. 9 Jordan Love, 8 CJ Stroud, 7 Dak Prescott, 6 Matthew Stafford rounds out tier 3. Tier 2, the challengers to Mahomes, 5 Justin Herbert, 4 Lamar, 3 Josh Allen, 2 Joe Burrow. And then in a tier by himself is Patrick Mahomes, the 2-time league MVP, 3-time Super Bowl champion, and 3-time Super Bowl MVP. Can't believe a few years ago, I think 3 years ago, I said I would have traded 5 first-round picks for Patrick Mahomes. I think I would still trade 5 first-round picks for Patrick Mahomes.
You should trade literally anything you should trade your entire team for Patrick Mahomes.
I wish, man. Lamar's only 27 years old. This is his age 27 season.
A lot of these NFL quarterbacks are younger than we thought. I think you're not going to see most guys age as gracefully as Rodgers and Brady has, but we're going to have a good number of years of the top few quarterbacks probably staying mostly the same.
Yeah, when you compare it to the NBA, I think is in a spot where you're running at like LeBron, Curry, Durant, all these guys that we really grew up watching, the legends, as they're on their way out. I think they're in a good spot with dudes like you have Giannis there, you have Luka. They're really fun to watch. But the NFL, to me, the star power of the quarterbacks who are all in their mid to late 20s and really starting to. I mean, obviously Mahomes is at the peak of his career, but Lamar might even get a little better. Burrow will probably get a little better. I think the NFL is in just such a great spot at the quarterback position where, look, these are only the top 20, and I feel like Anthony Richardson at 20 could have a sensational season. Like to have him as the 20th best quarterback is pretty cool spot for the league to be in. So it's awesome. Zach, you okay with these rankings?
Yeah. Tua just shouldn't be on them.
He's just upset about Tua. Come on, 17. I feel like that's a good spot.
He's just a bitter Dolphins fan.
Yeah.
They haven't known the success us Vikings fans have.
Yeah, right. The rich success of the Vikings. All right, we'll be back. So the way it's going to work for the next couple weeks here, we're going to record a bunch of division previews coming up. We'll start releasing them over the next 4 weeks. That'll lead into training camp or about the start of training camp for a lot of teams. Training camp for 2 weeks. Then the preseason starts. That takes us right up to week 1 with the Chiefs and the Ravens, followed up by the Packers and the Eagles. So it's coming quick. So we got to enjoy these chill weeks while we have them. We'll have some more drafts and mailbags coming out soon. It'll be a lot of fun. The offseason's a good time on the Paul Farrington Show.
And if you guys want to see a live show, leave a comment.
Yeah, let us know if you've watched this far into it. Let us know if you want to see a live show. We're trying to figure out how that could look if we go out to Green Bay, whether that's just go out to a bar and hang out with everyone, actually do a show. We're not sure what it's going to look like yet, but we're trying to get out there. So again, let us know in the comment section what you think. We'll see you soon. Remember, you can always like, comment, subscribe, or become a member by going to our channel's homepage and clicking join. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next week.